If you're watching this, you no doubt know of this family. You have most likely watched Jack and his sister Brooke playing together. You've probably met Brian and his lovely wife Eren. But how did we get here? Well, if you have a moment, relax, sit back, and I'll tell you a story 15 years in the making. Where do I begin? Back in the day, as they say, there was a young man. He was 18 years of age and stunning to look at. Gorgeous flowing hair and built like Superman. There was also a young woman of 16. She, too, was a thing of beauty, something to be admired. They did not know each other, but soon they would meet. It was just a matter of when and where. Both needed work in order to make ends meet. They both ended up taking jobs at a local restaurant where he was a cook and she was a hostess. They met and worked together for a while, mostly just having idle chit-chat and short conversations in passing. Then one day, Brian walks up to Eren and simply asks out of the blue, "So, when are we going out?" That was a key moment, and as you will see, there are many more to come. These two began spending time together outside of work, meeting for dinners, movies, and some local comedy shows. This went on for some time, never getting too serious, just good friends spending time together and growing to know each other. But over time, they saw less of each other as they got busy doing other things. One day, Eren moved far away to a land called Tulsa, where she would study psychology. Brian moved to Denton, where he would study computers. Years passed, and they didn't cross paths for a long time. However, a new series of key moments was about to reunite them, and unite them for good this time. Eren and her friends had been planning a spring break trip. She was excited about going out of town with friends, but then something happened. While backing out of a parking lot, she had a small wreck damaging her car. Unfortunately, this meant she wouldn't be able to go on the trip, but rather would need to work to get money for the repairs. She knew she'd have to go back home and pick up shifts waiting tables at that restaurant in order to get the money, but when she returned home, the restaurant had been closed down. She did some research and found another restaurant that had a temporary position available. So she started picking up shifts there, slowly working to get her car fixed. Meanwhile, Brian had been going about his life enjoying school and friends. One particular weekend, he had spent the day at the annual Irish festival, learning about the Irish culture and, more importantly, Irish beer. It was getting late in the day, and he was quite tired, so he and his friends headed back home. When he got home, he had a message stating some friends were going out to dinner to celebrate a birthday. Well, he was tired and didn't want to go, so he laid down to rest, but then changed his mind that he'd better go to dinner with his friend. He got to their house just as they were pulling out to go to dinner. He caught them just in time. Once in the car, they were discussing where to go, and one of them mentioned a certain restaurant. "We can't go there. I heard it closed down," someone said. To which another replied, "Well, there's another one not far from here that's still open." They all agreed and headed toward the restaurant. I bet you know where this is going, don't you? Eren had been waiting tables all evening and was about to end her shift when the hostess said she had to take a break. She asked Eren to seat the next few tables that came in. She agreed, and it was about that time that a group of gentlemen came in to celebrate one of their birthdays. A certain young man and young lady were suddenly fixated on each other in amazement that their paths would cross again so randomly after being apart for so long. When fate hits you in the face like this, it is not to be messed with. This moment led to many phone calls, visits back and forth between their schools, and finally a trip to a beautiful garden where he got down on one knee and asked her to be his wife. She, of course, said yes. Over the next 7 years, they lived life to the fullest. They traveled, visiting many places they had never been. They toured Ireland, where they listened to great music, heard wonderful stories of the Irish. They saw the foggy green Irish countryside. They visited castles. They even kissed the Blarney Stone. They took cruise ships all over, having fun in the sun. They danced the night away. They rested on beaches. They swam in Belize, rode dolphins in Mexico, and rested on more beaches. They parasailed through the sky, ate new foods, and of course, they rested on more beaches. They swung through the trees on islands. They patronized local pubs. They went lots of places. They did lots of things. They shared many experiences together during this time, all the while growing together. Life was very rewarding as they shared all these new experiences. During this time, they made major life changes. They bought their first car together. It wasn't much, but it was the first. They bought their first house together. Eventually, they were able to buy their dream car. Well, it might have been his dream car, but she had no complaints. After some time, they were able to buy a house more suitable for what was to come. In July of 2007, they made the biggest upgrade to the family yet, a baby boy named Jack. He was a tiny thing, but he had a big impact on the young couple. He giggled and played. He smiled and laughed. He kept them up all hours of the night, but they didn't mind too much. They played with him, laughed with him, and shared a lot of firsts. His first time crawling. His first smile. His first words. His first steps and the many steps that followed. In March of 2009, they added another new addition to the family, a baby girl named Brooke. Like her brother, she too was a bundle of joy, always smiling and laughing, crawling around following her big brother. She was a little more laid back than her brother, but had attitude when she needed it. She is an adorable thing. So here we are, 10 years into their marriage, a family of 4, and in love as they have ever been. Sure, vacations are shorter, a lot closer to home, and they haven't seen a beach in years, but they don't mind. Now their rewards come in a different form. Smiles from the kids, silly conversations about their day, cuddling on the couch during a movie, the occasional night out, and most importantly, holding each other at the end of a hectic week and knowing how far they come from where they started, knowing they are still the same 2 best friends that met in that restaurant a decade and a half ago, and of course, wondering where the next 10 years will take them.